Hello students, in this module we will be doing the question answers of chapter 6 of your history chapter, and regarding that we have 30 questions. We are talking about the chapter of national movement under Gandhi. So we will quickly, without wasting time, get down to the question answers. I will be dictating you the answers, so accordingly you can write or note down the answers and do them in your fair copies. So here, as per the question answers, the first question is, which period of Indian history is known as the Gandhian era and why? So the answer you will write 1919 till 1948, because Mahatma Gandhi completely dominated the Indian national movement during this era or this phase. Question number 2. State two methods of political struggle evolved by Gandhi as part of the national movement. So your answer for this will be Satyagraha and Ahimsa. Question number 3. Define Satyagraha. How does it differ from passive resistance? Your answer number 3 will be Satyagraha, the moral force born of truth, also known as truth force, and non-violence, which involves resisting evil but at the same time excludes hatred for the evildoer. Next paragraph you will write the second part of the answer. How is it different from passive resistance? You will write Satyagraha excludes the use of violence, whereas passive resistance does not exclude the use of physical force for the purpose of gaining one's objective. Question number 4. What is meant by Swadeshi? And the second part of this is, why did Gandhi lay emphasis on Swadeshi? So for that Swadeshi movement you will write, the use of goods produced in our own country is known as Swadeshi. Along with that you will write, it is to make the country self-sufficient and eliminate its dependence on the imported goods, that they do not depend more on the items which are imported. Question number 5. How did Gandhi involve Indian masses in the national movement? Here you can write it in 3 points. I have the answers in 3 points. So accordingly you can write. First point, he spent the first 4 years in India from 1915 to 1919 in studying the Indian situation and the psyche of the masses. What were the mentality of the masses? Second point you will write, he discarded his European clothes and dressed himself in the garments of the poorest in the country, that is obviously the dhoti, enabling the masses to identify themselves with him, and the cause he represented is the independence of India. Third point you will write, the charkha which he adopted became a logo of the national movement, symbolizing self-reliance and people's participation in the cause of the freedom struggle. So you can write in these 3 points the entire answer. Next is question number 6. Where did Mahatma Gandhi use his first experiment of Satyagraha? You will write at Champaran in Bihar. Question number 7. What was the grouse of the cultivators of Champaran in Bihar? The answer you will write, the indigo cultivators of Champaran were bound by law to grow indigo on 3/20th part of their land and sell it to the British planters at fixed prices, at the prices fixed by the British, and they had to do it whether it was famine or whether they make any progress or a profit out of it or not. Question number 8. Question 8 is, why did Gandhi launch Satyagraha at Ahmedabad in 1918? Question answer 8. Gandhi undertook a fast, that is hunger strike, to protest against the mill owners who had refused to pay higher wages to their laborers. Question number 9. What was the outcome of Gandhi's Satyagraha at Ahmedabad? You will write, the mill owners agreed to give 35% increase in the wages of the laborers. Question number 10. Name the leaders of the Khilafat movement that was launched in India to champion the cause of Caliph of Turkey. So here you will write the answer. It was started by Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. They were the main leaders of the Khilafat movement. Next we move on to question number 11. Why did Gandhi participate in the Khilafat movement? Your answer will be, it was to forge a unity between the Hindus and the Muslims. Question number 12. How did the Khilafat movement come to an end? The answer is, very carefully you can write it because it was not explained in detail in the chapter. Here you will have a proper understanding of it. Mustafa Kemal led a revolution in Turkey and deposed the Turkish ruler. He abolished the Caliphate, Calipate, Caliphate, and developed Turkey on secular lines, thereby removing all the objectives for which the Khilafat movement was started. So when the purpose was gone, then even the movement also came to an end. Next is question number 13. That is, what was the Rollett Act of 1919? So your answer 13 is, the Rollett Act passed in 1919 authorized the British government to imprison any person without any trial and convict him to a court. Question number 14. What was Gandhi's reaction to the Rollett Act of 1919? Your answer will be, Gandhi was shocked. He appealed to the Viceroy to withhold his consent. When his appeal was ignored, Gandhi started the non-cooperation movement. Question 15. Name 3 events which disillusioned Gandhi and turned him into a non-cooperator from a cooperator with the British government. So here your answer number 15 is the Rollett Act. You can write it in 3 points. The Rollett Act, the Jallianwala Bagh tragedy, and the Khilafat wrongs that were done. Question number 16. Name any one important national educational institution established during the non-cooperation movement. You have to name any one, but there are many of the Vidyapeeths which were started. So you can write Jamia Millia Islamia University, Bihar Vidyapeeth, and so on. Any of them you can write. I'm just giving you 2 so that you don't have much of a choice. Question number 17. In previous question 16, you can even write both of them so that in exams, if you forget any one, you remember at least another one. Question number 17. What were the steps taken by the people as a part of the Khilafat non-cooperation movement? You will write in points this answer. First, they resigned from the government jobs and renounced their titles which were given to them by the British, and even the awards were returned. Next is, second point, they picketed shops selling foreign goods, cloth, liquor, all those things. They organized hartals and demonstrations against the government. Question number 18. Sorry, this was question number answer 17. Now question 18. Name the 3 components of the constructive program adopted by Gandhi after the suspension of the non-cooperation movement. So answer 18 will be, again we have been asked 3 points to write, so we will write at points. First is removal of untouchability, second Hindu-Muslim unity, and third is popularization of Swadeshi and Khadi, Khadi. Question number 19, and it is the Simon Commission was boycotted everywhere. Give one reason. So your one reason will be, it comprised 7 British members of Parliament, but there was not a single Indian member, and this was seen as an insult to the self-respect of Indians who were considered not capable of even framing certain points for their country. Question number 20. Name the national leader who succumbed to the lathi charge during the protest movement against the Simon Commission? So we all know it is all about Lala Lajpat Rai. So you will write the answer Lala Lajpat Rai, or you can even give this answer not as one word but one or two sentences, that Lala Lajpat Rai was hit by a lathi on his head and even brutally injured during the lathi charge in Lahore, and then after these fatal injuries, within a month he succumbed to the injuries. Next is question number 21. It is, why is the Congress session held at Lahore in 1929 significant in India's freedom movement? So your answer will be, it was a historic resolution passed in this particular session which was declared as the Purn Swaraj or complete independence, which Congress took as the goal of the Congress and their national movement from then on. That means they did not want any more dominion status. Now they want complete independence, freedom from British. Question number 22. What did the program of civil disobedience movement consist of? So answer 22 is, you can write this particular answer in points, because in exams also you can write it for 3 marks, 4 marks, 3 or 4 points as you are asked for. So you can write in points. First is defiance of salt laws. Second is boycott of liquor. Third point, boycott of foreign cloth and British goods of all kinds. And next, fourth point, you will write non-payment of taxes and revenues. So through all these methods, we can say civil disobedience movement was carried on. So these were the important points or programs of this protest. Question number 23. Why did Mahatma Gandhi start his historic march to Dandi? You will write, we all know its Dandi march is a part of civil disobedience, but as a proper answer you will write, Gandhi started his Dandi march which to begin the civil disobedience movement, and then you will write in points, when the British government backtracked from its promise of granting dominion status to India. Backtrack means they said but then they did not do it. They moved away from their promise. Second point, the British government did not respond to Gandhi's 11-point ultimatum which he had given before starting the movement, and as a warning he said the movement will be started, but when the government did not respond to the ultimatum, he had to start the civil disobedience movement. Next we move on to question number 24. How was the civil disobedience movement different from the non-cooperation movement? I even told you this particular thing while we were discussing the thing, that how these two are different, because in both the ways we are not working as per the will of the government. So both are non-cooperation. How can one be different from the other? Here we will do that. That will give you an understanding of the concept also. So answer 24 is, the non-cooperation movement involved only non-cooperation with the British government, whereas the civil disobedience movement involved non-payment of taxes and land revenue, violation of laws, besides non-cooperation activities. So that is why non-cooperation was just non-cooperating, not cooperating with the government, but civil disobedience means not even cooperating with them, and moreover adding to it is violating the laws and even not giving any of the taxes and whatever the payments are supposed to be done by the people, so refusing even those also. Question number 25. Who took the leadership of the civil disobedience movement in the extreme northwestern part of the country? That is, I told you, northwest frontier, so that is it. Afghanistan, Pakistan region we are talking about. Same question, another part. What was he popularly known as, and what was the name of the organization formed by him? So your answer 25 is, in the northwest frontier province, it was Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. He was popularly known as the Frontier Gandhi. He formed the Society of Khudai Khidmatgars, KHUDAI, and khidmatgars, Khidmatgars, Khudai Khidmatgars, who were popularly known as the red shirts because that was their uniform. In a way, you can say that. Next is question number 26. Who raised the banner of revolt against the British government in Manipur? Here you will write it was Rani Gaideliu. So Rani Gaideliu, you will write the spelling. Rani, obviously you know, R-A-N-I. Gaideliu, you will write G-A-I-D-I-L-I-E-U. I'll repeat it. Gaidilieu. Next, question number 27. That is, why did Mahatma Gandhi suspend the civil disobedience movement in 1931? Remember, it started in 30, was removed in 31, and then it was restarted and then came to an end in 34. So we are talking about the first time. Why was this movement suspended in 1931? So your answer you will write by the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. It was suspended. The pact stipulated that the Congress would suspend the civil disobedience movement and participate in the second roundtable conference. That means it was one of the terms and conditions of the Gandhi-Irwin Pact, which was signed by Gandhi, and as a result he had to withdraw the civil disobedience movement and enter the second roundtable conference for the negotiations. Question number 28. Mention any two terms, or you can say even the provisions of the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. So here you can write the first point. In points you will write, the British agreed to withdraw all ordinances and release all political prisoners except those guilty of violence, who had killed somebody or done something violent. Second point, the Congress agreed to suspend the civil disobedience movement and participate in the second roundtable conference. Now when you will be writing this question, you can write them as two different points, one for the what government agreed and one what Gandhi agreed, or you can even break these points into two each. That means it will become four. First is government agreed to withdraw all the ordinances, and second, they agreed to release all the political prisoners except those for the guilty of violence. And similarly, in Gandhi agreed to take away or withdraw civil disobedience movement and also agreed to attend the second roundtable conference. So both the ways you can write either 2 points each or 1 point each. Next is question number 29. What made Gandhi withdraw the civil disobedience movement in 1934? Here you will write, all leaders arrested and their properties were seized, and even communalism was propagated. Movement also lost its force and enthusiasm among the people, and therefore Congress had to call it off. Question number 30, this particular 29th question also you can write in points if you feel like that is easier for you to remember. You can write it in points. First point, all the major leaders were arrested. Second point, most of the property of the volunteers and the leaders were seized. And then third point is communalism was propagated, promoted, and it was division on the basis of communities. Fourth point you can write, the movement lost its enthusiasm, zeal and force. As a way it became less effective. And lastly you can write a conclusion, therefore the entire movement had to be called off by the Congress. Last question, question number 30. What was the impact of the civil disobedience movement? For this you will write in points. First point, it shattered people's faith in the British government. Second, it revived the will to fight the elections. Third point is, it deepened the social roots for the freedom struggle. Fourth point, it popularized new methods of propaganda like the Prabhat Feris, pamphlets, etc. So these were the various things that were like an impact of civil disobedience movement, and new particular ways of putting up their demands, fights were given to the common general public to keep up the fight against the British for their freedom. So with this we come to the end of the question answers, the 30 question answers, short answer type. The long answer type questions you will be marking in your books, and in your fair copies, I have told you earlier, you will be doing the short answer type questions, all the chapters that we have done so far. So that is how we will be doing all these questions. And yes, for the revision, I'll be taking your long answer type questions, so you will be thorough with them as well. So with this, we come to the end of the chapter. We have completed till chapter 6, and chapter number 7 onwards we will start later. Remember, in your school you will be asked, as soon as your school gives restarts, you will be, or not even that particular thing, even right now recently you will be asked to give your copies, hand in your copies. So make sure all your work is completed, whether it's history or civics, whatever chapters we have done so far, all those chapters should be completed and should be submitted for correction. You don't have to come over there yourself. You have been given the guidelines, but accordingly do send your work for corrections. It will be noted down, so please take it as very seriously, very serious, something really important. Thank you.